So this video is going to show you how to add shadows to your shrunken selfie. Here we have a picture of me on Yoda's hand. And what I'm going to do, there's a bazillion ways you could do this, but I am going to do it with my paintbrush. So what I'm going to do is in between the layers of myself and Yoda, my background, I'm going to add a layer. So you want to make sure that this layer, and you can call that, you want to make sure it's sandwiched in between the top and the bottom layers. So I'm going to call that shadows. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to use my paintbrush, and I'm going to use a black one. Whatever color's here is the color that you're going to paint with, the box that's up front. And I'm going to bring my opacity down. So you're going to have to fool around with this. I'm going to bring it down to 30. I might have to change it. And I'm going to zoom all the way in. So what you have to do now is determine where your shadows are going to be. So if you're sitting or standing on something, you're always going to have a shadow probably underneath here, maybe here. Here on the other side, this is like on the other side of his finger, so I wouldn't put a shadow there, but maybe here, maybe a little bit here. So how I would do that is I would take the paintbrush and bring the opacity down, like I said, and I would start with a pretty small brush, maybe about 50, yeah, about that. And you want to make sure the hardness is all the way down to 0, so it's like an airbrush. And then you want to start painting. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to paint down here. And what you're essentially doing is painting on the background layer, but you're not really painting on the layer because I added an extra layer. So it's kind of darkening those pixels. And the more I go over it, the darker my shadow would be. Now I might want to bring my shadow up to here. But the cool thing about doing this on its own layer is I can always go back. If I do too much, I can go back with an eraser and I can erase what I don't like. I'll probably use a bigger eraser. And I want to make sure my eraser, see the hardness was at 100, so I want to make sure the hardness is at an airbrush too. Kind of gives it a softer edge. And figure out where on your background your shadows would be. And then make sure you're making them dark enough so it looks more noticeable. And that's kind of it. You kind of play around with that until you get all your shadows. So let me zoom out so you can see how that looks. All right, so this was before the shadows. I mean, this was before the shadows. This is after the shadows. So it gives it a sense of, that I'm really sitting there. And that's it.